Part-Time Hitter is brought to you by Friendly Forces, a 501c3 nonprofit committed to helping reserve component members seamlessly integrate their military service with rewarding civilian careers. We connect them with employers who value their unique skills and critical role in national security and advise organizations how to become more reservist-friendly. Check them out at www.friendlyforces.org. Friendly Forces is also brought to you by the Fratty Guard, a lifestyle brand for part-time hitters. Check them out at www.thefrattyguard.com and on Instagram at @thefrattyguard. Welcome to episode 8 of Part-Time Hitter. Today, I am joined by Josh and John, who are currently snipers in the Maryland Army National Guard. I'm super happy to have them on the podcast today. The last few guests had been kind of soft-bellied, to be honest. So it's nice to have some actual pipe hitters on the show. But I'll let John and Josh introduce themselves, and we'll get into more of their careers and what they're doing in the Maryland National Guard right now as snipe people is. So, John, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself first?
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me on. My name's John. We were kind of talking earlier, and I was kind of getting my head around it, but I'm one of those Maryland 18X failures. I like to call myself a former dirty leg because that's all I got so far is airborne. But I'm an 11 Bravo here in Maryland National Guard Scout and Sniper section with the 175. On the part-time civilian side, what I was doing was doing multimedia and video production in sports. So creative content, live broadcasting in that kind of area of collegiate sports. But I just made a career transition over to AOS with Maryland National Guard's counter-drug program on our Joint Force headquarters. So I've been doing that since July. I just got my orders renewed. So I just made a huge career transition. Just hit 3 years, currently enlisted. And yeah, man, we'll get into some stuff that I like. But off the top of my head, I enjoy gear. I'm a gear nerd, even though I LARP and it's part-time. I have barely what you would call a mustache because I am in regrow phase. But I thought you would like this, that I do have some good stocks and equities in some great defense contract companies. I thought that would fit right up our alley as far as what fits the mold of the Fratty Guard lifestyle.
Yeah, I'd be happy to hear, one of the questions that I tend to ask, or I had started asking the guests on the podcast, then I forgot to do it, was what they're running these days. So yeah, if you're running any particular kit or grooming products or whatever, we're happy to hear about that. So we can share the wealth.
Awesome.
Do you mind if I ask how many people you've killed?
So many, it's not even a quantitative answer.
Yeah. Or actually, let me back up. That's kind of an inappropriate question. Have you ever killed anyone? And if so, how many people have you killed?
Oh, man, I feel like I could say something really funny with this, but no, none.
Okay.
Yet.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to have to get those numbers up. So,
I think what he was trying to say is he can neither confirm nor deny.
Let's be honest, man. I'm tired of paying my lawyer, so.
Yeah, I wonder if I can even air this podcast because we're talking about killing people. But let's get back on track.
Allegedly.
Yes, for legal purposes. So, how did you both wind up in the National Guard?
Mine's easy. I think because I'm just short on service, so it's a little bit more fresh, but just truly fitting the Fratty Guard culture. I was actually working at an Ivy League institution, highly rated for the last X number of years as the number one university in the world is where I was working. You can do your own research on that. So I was working there. I'd been there for about 9 years, and I was just kind of...
Wait, what university?
Princeton.
Well, okay.
So I was working at Princeton for 9 years, and then I was just kind of like, what am I doing? I had some stuff going on in my life where I really didn't know if I wanted to be in the private world or in the commercial world of doing what I was doing. Wanted to do something better. So I talked to a few buddies, and they were like, think about the National Guard. And I was like, well, if I'm doing this, then I'm going to try to go all the way. So that's how I got into my 18X contract. Even though I was living up in New Jersey, I wanted to enlist and try to get over to the boys in the 20th group. So that's what started my route down the 18X. And then went through all that stuff, had some family trouble back home, missed my daughter's birth, didn't get to meet her till she was 4 months old at airborne school, left for that, and then went to Bragg, and then finally made it home when she was about a year. So I actually withdrew myself from selection in April of 2022 to basically just simply come back home and be a dad and deal with some family stuff. But then I was over at Charlie Company in the 175. I liked it over there, but I still had that kind of missing itch to be a part of a smaller team or do something a little bit more specialized, and met one of the guys, one of our Bravo 4s who's actually deployed over in Syria right now with the New Jersey Scout Troop and Sniper Troop. But I met him because he came over to Charlie Company as a platoon sergeant, told me all about it, and said, hey, we have a selection and assessment coming up for scouts this September. So that's how I jumped over. And there's a funny story about my board interview that I had with Josh and all the entire section. But yeah, so that was almost 1 year ago. So I've been in scouts for 1 year and trying to get over to Josh's sniper team for his position.
What is the tryout or like selection look like for the sniper section?
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know how I ended up in the National Guard. Honestly, I had a little bit of a rap sheet back in the day, and luckily there's a waiting period and you can get rid of a lot of stuff. But they somehow let me in, and I think I was like 24, 25. I was an old guy in basic, man. And that was not fun, being an old guy in basic.
Wait, how old were you?
All the time. 24, 25.
Oh, bro, I was 35.
Oh, God.
Oh, dude. Yeah, you were like legitimately old. I was 26 and I was old.
37 right now. I went through when I was 35. Wow.
Yeah, dude, you're like the oldest person I've ever met. And I'm 37.
Anyways.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I just ended up there. I was like, you know what? In my head, I was like, well, I just want to do some cool shit. And, you know, I ended up at Long Range Surveillance. Went there, did their assessment, their selection, ended up on a training team for a couple months, ended up to a different team, to an actual team after that. And I liked how they did it. It was cool. And we had a lot of fun, man. I mean, hell, my first time out with them, we were fast roping and we were working with like Estonian SF guys. They came over here and we were training them up in reconnaissance, and it was a real good time. And after that, it's kind of like it fizzled out. They disbanded, and then I ended up where I'm at now pretty much. But it was, like I said, I don't know how I got there. I mean, I grew up back and forth between like West Virginia and Maryland, and grew up hunting, fishing, and then got into like street racing and just before Fast and Furious was a thing, I was racing and doing shit. I was either drag track or on the street, and I don't know, not a lot of people know that about me, but I was a little hoodlum.
You were granny shit,
Paul Walker.
not clutching.
I was Paul Walker without the Porsche and without the good hair.
So I had heard good things, well, good and bad things about the Lurs. Like I heard they got some good training. They got to wear whatever they wanted, but also that it was like a super toxic. What I heard was there was a bunch of like former Ranger dudes who tried to treat it like Ranger Regiment and just made it really for people who were like new privates or whatever showing up, and they just got treated like, I don't know if that's true or not. That was just the account I got at the time.
Yeah, it was definitely like former Ranger Regiment heavy. Any AGR spot was definitely good old boy. Any ADOS order that came out of there was good old boy. But I mean, the cool thing was it was like Quasimodo SOCOM kind of. So like you had state funding, and then they also dipped their toes into SOCOM funding and stuff like that. So like if you went to school, if let's put it this way, if you're an E5 on a team as like a ATL, man, you probably had Pathfinder, Sniper, SDM, Mountain Warfare. Like there was guys with dive schools. Like it was cool. It was definitely cool. The funding was heavy, but they did break you off if you were a new guy. And yeah, but the organization itself was cool. And honestly, I know the National Guard keeps talking about bringing like a Ranger Regiment to the Guard, and I know it pisses off those Ranger Regiment boys, but
fuck yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? It would just be like Lurs again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we hit it hard. We did hit it hard.
So what does like the little tryout or selection they make you go through? What does that look like for, well, I guess what did it look like for the Lurs, but what does it look like for the, for the sniper section?
It involves only short shorts and a ruler.
If they're 12 inches too long, homie. Yeah, dude, it was similar to what we used to do in the Scouts. A lot of our guys, when I came to Scouts, I had a few come over with me from Lurs, and a lot of guys were prior Lurs there, and they kind of mirrored off of that back in the day. Now it's a little different, but basically you would show up and you get kind of like put on a training team. The training team assesses you. The team leader and the assistant team leader basically just has like a 6-man team of new guys, and whatever you do, you're just getting smoked. So like if everyone else is eating chow, well, you're doing sprints and low crawling and just getting smoked until you have like 2 minutes to eat chow, and you eat chow and, well, go get your task done, and they're on your ass the entire time. Make sure you do it right, and then go get smoked again. Like it's just like a dog and pony show, just like anything else. But it's not like an assessment selection that lasts 2 days, 3 days, like a scout sections might. This one would be like, oh, okay, you're there for 3 or 4 days right now. Okay, well, you're 3 or 4 days, you're just getting smoked, and they're feeling you out and seeing who you are. Okay, you're gonna be there again for another 3 or 4 days and a month. Okay, it's happening again, and until they feel good letting you off the training team. So I've seen guys be on a training team for like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and just like leave the organization because they knew they weren't going to make it on a team. And I've seen guys just kind of like sit in limbo on there for like a year. And luckily, I think I was on there for 1 month. The second month, they put me on a team. So that was cool. But I mean, like if you were just in shape and responsible and they let shit bother you, you'd make it off in a month or two. But they need to see it, like the same thing we're looking for in the scouts and snipers. They need to see you're a self-starter, you're responsible, and they can work with you personality-wise, really.
Can I, as a captain, become a sniper?
Not in the Army. I think, I want to say like Air Force, you can go to sniper school as a officer, something like that, Air Force or Marine Corps or something. One of these organizations will let you. Maybe it's Navy, but hey, you know what you can do in the Army? We used to have one, sniper employment officer. And like you get to shoot all the cool guns with us, and like, still get rules and stuff. But
is that just an like what is that though? Is that
It's strictly just a position. I want to say there used to be like a course for it, but it's more like an admin thing. Like you're in a talk, just like a PL on a scout team will probably be most times sitting in a talk. Like, hey, my guys are gonna be here. They're gonna be on this side of the objective or doing this. They need these resources. You're talking with the company commanders. But at that same time, you get field time with the section as well. So like the guy that we had as a employment officer, he loved it. I mean, it was awesome. You just make sure that, hey, like things cool between us and command, and you come chill with the boys and train with us. It was a really cool gig for 03.
So what do you guys do on like a typical drill weekend? I mean, I would hope that you get to shoot a lot because, well, besides that, that's given, but you know, during the training day, I mean, do you guys shoot more than like a typical infantry unit in the guard, or do you kind of just put up the same we do?
So it varies, honestly, man. If you're directly with the snipers, then yes, you shoot a lot. Because honestly, if you look at like the doctrine for a sniper section, I think you have to shoot like 6 months out of 12 months of the year, at least half of the year or something like that. And you got qualification really on every weapon platform that you should be doing, at least internally. So, I mean, we got our M4s, we got our pistols, we got our M110 SAS, you got the M110A1, which is really more a scout thing, but we do use them. You got the Barrett 50 still, you got the 2010 to 300 Win Mag, and then we got the Mark 22, which is 3 calibers in that system right there. So it's a lot to do. You know, we got the Carl G between the two sections as well. And yeah, and now I'm trying to get 249s on the sniper teams for our third member. So for like a junior member, carry 249, maybe like a short barrel like we had at Lurs.
Well, that's like an MTO thing. I don't think you're going to have much control over that, right?
Yeah. So how I worked it out right now is the mortars don't use theirs, and they have an excess of them apparently. And they're like, yeah, man, hey, we'll give you 2 or 3 of them. We don't care. We don't use them. The only time they ever get pulled out is when we use them for like an assessment. Yeah. And then 240s or 249s for the scouts. So it's once again, it's an MTO thing, but we have a few in the company in HAC that just don't get used. The sections don't want them, and it's like a handshake thing.
Do you guys generally do kind of like, just like the videos I've always seen of snipers in the military, or kind of just them out on like a flat range taking shots, which is cool, I guess, but like do anything more sort of dynamic, like shooting from helicopters or just urban, or I don't know.
Yeah, we up at Dick's, they have it's like an urban mount town, and it's actual buildings and all. So it's pretty cool. It's not just Connex Village, you know, it's actual buildings, and you can shoot from the rooftops, from inside the rooms. I mean, they got rappel anchors on them where you can rappel the side and slingshots, but some of the ranges they have around them only go out to like 300 yards. Some of them might go out to like 600. So it's more of like a truly urban setup, but they kind of restrict you on where you can put targets, but it's still cool. As far as helicopters go, not so much. There's a Air Force unit up there. I forget what they call themselves, but I think they're security forces, but they're like this more special security force MPE guys. They do like helicopter shit and all, and they've been asking us to cross train them and come up there and like do all that cool shit with them. So I'm like, yeah, man, let's see if we can make that work here soon.
You guys tell people you're snipers in like casual conversation with women and people in your day-to-day lives. I feel like that would be one of the best parts of being a sniper.
I just jumped straight to Jason Bourne because that's what they know.
No, but you can't say that. You have to imply it, and you want them to make that mental connection.
Yeah, you just gotta imply it. And you know what, man? I think I'm the only sniper without a sniper tattoo that I've met so far. So like, I'm lacking, honestly.
You should get one.
I should get. I'm gonna put like right on my forearm where everybody can see
But
it.
I also
Everybody else.
like if I was talking to somebody in the military and they said they were a sniper, like usually I'm going to think they're lying because there's not that many snipers like in the military, and people who are lying tend to pick like, you know, shit like that. But so
Man, you know what I always get is people like someone finds out, hey, you're a part-time guy. They don't have snipers. I'm like, buddy, boy, do they.
buddy, check out this tattoo on my shoulder. It says sniper.
Check out this cool moto photo I got.
See, that's cool. So has the 175 like sniper section deployed like recently anywhere in the last like, 5 years?
Nah, they've gone to like Africa and trained up African forces and sniper stuff, which that's great. But no, not really. Like the guy he was talking about before who brought him over to the scout section, at least got him to the tryout. He deployed with another state as a sniper team leader, and he's coming back here like right now. And yeah, it depends totally on where you're at, man. But Maryland as a whole, no. Like some states deploy left and right. Maryland, I don't know whether it's like the problem that we only have one battalion and we're tied to a brigade that's out of state, or what. I mean, that's probably what it is, but I imagine it's like part of it just being Maryland as well. But they deployed in I think 2007 to Iraq. Gotten some stuff there. I want to say they lost like a scout PSG, a team leader, and one or two of the team guys. Not sure how it went down. I don't really know anyone from that deployment. That was right before my time. But historically, yeah, sure. They didn't have one or two deployments, but since then, no, nothing. And, like there's always talks of stuff, but, it falls out a couple months out, sadly. But, I mean, like we talked to the 20 guys up there, and they're like, deployments? Nah, man, nah. We don't deploy.
Really?
Yeah, they go on onesies and twosies usually, it seems like.
They'll probably hop on like other like third or fifth groups or something like that.
What do most of the guys in your section do on the civilian side? Are most of them cop type people?
Yeah. Cops and police officers and firefighters.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's like half and half firefighters, and like the firefighters we have are having to do with something with special operations like swift water rescue, high angle, stuff like that. And then the cops, man, I think majority of them are SWAT cops or SWAT snipers, and pretty cool, but like, yeah, it's weird. It conflicts sometimes.
Well, I always like when there's like, the random dude who's like has some random ass job. He's like an artist, but then he's like a sniper or an 18, Bravo in the National Guard. It's so incongruous. Like I always think shit like that's pretty funny.
That was like me though, like coming into the Guard and doing like multimedia and video production. So I was like really tech savvy. I actually wanted to be an 18 Echo. So funny enough now is like how it translates. It's like, that's the cool part about the Guard is everybody has like different skill sets. So if we're running like something where we need knots or something, we'll go one of the firefighter dudes who has, rappelling skills or, high angle rescue stuff. But it's kind of funny how like our civilian skills can apply to like all this different team stuff, especially when you get specialized. So like, our battalion commander just straight up wanted us to get these tough books that have been sitting in our cage forever, going with TAC chat and shooting stuff over HF. Well, our scouts put together like a little team. So I'm currently an RTO right now, but I'm on like our little comm specialized group with a former dude who was at Ranger Regiment, and one of our staff sergeant who's a pretty tech savvy guy. So we started getting these TAC chats and tough books up with S6. And I mean, that's like right up my alley. And then the next thing you know, battalion commander's like, dude, I've been waiting for this, capability forever. And it took 2 months for scouts to go figure it out. So thank you. Good on you guys. Now talk to me about cameras and what we need. So that's where I slipped in. And I, on my own, like a court, made a whole brief and presented to Colonel Franklin. And now this next drill coming up on Sunday, I got to present this brief about what camera systems we want, because we need to go out there and take pictures and surveillance and stuff like that, have that capability. So it's kind of cool how like you could take some guy who, doesn't necessarily have a law enforcement background or anything like that, but skills can still be applicable to the team and stuff. So it's kind of cool. At least I like it. And that's kind of how I think Josh is talking about, like guys being fire starters or like self-starters, coming in and seeing what needs to be applied to the team or where you. I like it.
That's part of the sort of the magic of the Guard Reserves, that we all more or less have a baseline of the same military training, but people bring in all this other stuff from what they do outside of the military, whether it's other shooting, combat arms, or like medic type stuff, or like just being a consultant or knowing supply chain or knowing tech and applying that to like the mission that you're trying to do. That's like why the Guard and Reserve are such like a force amplifier. They can, figure things out and adapt to problems in a way that I think, active duty can't always in the same way.
Absolutely.
The Guard remains versatile,
Most of the time.
Were you guys, I guess this was before your time, John, but Josh, were you part of like COVID stuff or the Capitol stuff? Did you get sent down there for that?
The COVID stuff, we were pretty much just like, at least during 2020, they put the whole battalion on orders, and they put us in a hotel up north of the city, and
or a parking garage.
Man, they had us doing that those food sites. So they set you like each section up with like one site, and you had be there for the food delivery.
Should people not wearing masks?
Yeah,
you weren't there in like a sniper capacity. You were just there. It's like, hey, like,
dude.
Well, if he was, he wouldn't be able to tell you, dude.
I can't speak on it, right? And I don't know, man, it was miserable, but what we did the entire time was just party all night and do circuit workouts in the parking garage and go work for an hour or two and come back and do the same thing, go for a 5-mile trail run and then go back and party all night.
Dude, I heard stories about, people being put up in like, massive hotel suites by themselves for the duration of like, well, this is for the DC inauguration stuff, but I'm like, that sounds pretty awesome. And then you're just like, I don't know, sitting in a Humvee all day, like at an intersection, like making sure there isn't like a riot or something, which there wasn't. So
making sure people go cough on each other.
Pretty much.
Yeah, man. The DC stuff was, man, that was a little
for that. Were you like there as a sniper, like with sniper gear, or?
I was still a sniper ETL at the time, or scout ETL at the time, and our snipers were up on one of the roofs, and they had an FBI team with them, and the FBI snipers had their guns. Our sniper section, I think they had their 110s there, but like mag out, basically just like more so just doing like target recognition, surveillance stuff, just watching the gates mostly. And I won't hit on the political stuff, but like it got real political there after a while, and we basically had a mutiny. I mean, I've heard other states hearing about this that were there, but allegedly there was a mutiny, and there was like a deadline given for buses to get there. And I don't know how high up that went, but there was a couple news articles that were popped out like within 40 minutes. Well,
because this was when like Congress started. It was just about like you guys sleeping in garages or something.
Yeah, man, confirm like, nor deny.
It was a awesome parking garage, and LED lights, climate controlled, one bathroom or battalion.
So like I had kind of an inside, like in real time, I know the person who put that event like in the public light, and I watched as he was like, hey, I'm gonna blow this up, and like 40 minutes later AOC was like tweeting about it, and like all that happened. It was pretty amazing to see.
I think we might know the same person.
We probably do.
I think you guys do, yeah.
But I probably would have been down there, except I was at a school at the time, an Army school, so I got to avoid that show.
Man, we actually left there for we got like a 2-day pass to go to one of our guys' weddings, and it was pretty funny. But yeah, I didn't think that was gonna pass, but it did. But we got the hell out of there first chance we got, man. It was just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, that's another part. So like I'm in the reserve now, but with the Guard is like, obviously you're going to schools, you're, doing deployments and stuff like that. But then these like insane, like domestic missions that come up, like random ass. So like the DC inauguration stuff, or like COVID, or like, hurricane relief. And then there's even like more random like civil unrest. And it's like some of those experiences are, you can't, like, there's nothing like that gets matched, sort of on active duty or elsewhere. And it sort of contributes to like the very unique experience of being in the National Guard. Cause they really do use the Guard for like all sorts of and it's just like, I don't know, man.
And they're like, hey, you need extra help at the hospital? All right, send the Guard. Hey, you need people to go to DC and stand there for 14 hours a day. Send the Guard. Oh, hey, you need guys to go to Syria or Afghanistan?
Well,
send the Guard.
I don't know if you saw like recently, but I didn't even know this was really like legally possible. I don't know what the authorities are, but they were sending like the 101st and 82nd to help with the flooding in North Carolina. And those guys who never had the opportunity to do stuff like that were like, wow, I actually feel like for once I'm being a soldier and I'm actually helping people. Because they don't get to do that. They just,
I think it was a big media thing. I think that I know dudes that are down there. I mean, I know they were telling me that they were trying to put in passes and leave so they could go off base and help on their own time as far as like taking leave, and they were getting denied. Even people that were living in the area or had family in the area of North Carolina were getting denied. So I think there was a lot of pressure, and also maybe the scope of like how it looked is like you have these fully capable units to go in and support somebody down the road, and you're not letting them go and do it. And I think it got a little bit publicly twisted in the media a little bit, and a little bit of pressure came down from outside on these generals and policymakers to figure it out. Like, send these guys out. Like, they have fully capable like CSAR, like SAR and CSAR people and logistics, and they're down the road. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, you're probably right. There probably was media pressure, and I mean,
kind of like the parking garage thing in a way, sort of. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you it was something like that. But
so I want to get a little bit into counter drug and what exactly that is and how you get involved. That's something I always heard a lot about when I was in the Guard. Knew some people that did it.
Yeah.
Never quite understood what it was, but I know that a number of people were able to do it and sort of leverage it to turn it into like a new career, kind of, within law enforcement or doing other things. So what is the counter drug program? Is that just a Maryland thing, or is that like a National Guard nationwide thing? Yeah. What is it, and how do you do it?
Yeah, so counter drug, the counter drug programs start from the NGB, and it starts from bigger policy administration up at the Capitol Hill, but it's basically a joint force attachment or a joint force thing. So we have airmen and airwomen also in there, included in our counter drug program, but it's state by state. So not every state has it. So it's dictated by the governor or the tag in that state, and working with the NGB as far as what they feel that drug issue is or drug threat. Obviously, there's a pretty big drug crisis in Maryland and Baltimore. Thanks. Baltimore being one of the major ports up in the 95 corridor running from things from the south to the north, vice versa. So there's pretty heavy emphasis on that. And the counter drug program, when I first came into it, because I had a buddy that was also a little bit in the LURS for a long time ago that Josh knows. He was over in Charlie Company with me. He was always talking about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Counter drug. Same kind of questions that we're talking about here. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, it's basically like the diet CIA. And I'm like, what? I'm like, shut up. Like, you're so dumb. So long story short is I was tired of doing this civilian stuff. And he was like, dude, you got to check it out. Just go and apply. And I'm like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I don't know, dude. It's just like this. And I'm like, okay, let me break this down. When you wake up in the morning and you make coffee and you're about to go to work, you go there. What do you do? And he like still couldn't explain it. So you're not too far off. But now that I've been here for quite some time and I've settled in my role, as well as seen some of the areas, I can explain it very easily.
Do they look for certain MOSs or certain skill sets, or is it just like, do you have to interview?
Great question. Absolutely not. I'll circle right back to that. The part that I do right now, I want to start migrating towards that. But the part I do right now is called DDRO. So I'm a drug demand reduction civil operator. That's actually the term and our actual title, drug demand reduction and outreach civil operator. So basically, if you think of the easiest way to put this is if you think of DARE, like the old school DARE, we are a revamped new version of DARE that is statistically and analytically and data-based and data-driven. So we work with Department of Health, EPA, we work with all different official government agencies, and we help analyze and look at some of the data. And what we do is I don't know how to say it, I'm looking for words, but it's actually very similar to what soft units do. And what SF does is we are supposed to go out in the community, whether it be in uniform or plain clothes. We are supposed to work with community coalitions, AKA, in your mind, guerrilla groups. We're supposed to go into areas of operation in different counties around the state and help support these coalitions from the backside. Do they need help in organization? Do they need assessment? Do they need help in getting key leaders or contacts or networking? Do they need specific training or access to Narcan? Because, they're trying these coalitions and communities, which are made up of our community members and neighbors and moms and dads and sons and whatever, they're trying to combat drugs in their community. And what we do is we go behind the scenes and try to help them with structure. We try to implement military strategy or military kind of processes gently through their structure of their organization. So it's kind of on the backside, like inner city Baltimore have, stigmas with uniforms. So we won't wear uniforms to meetings, but we are just trying to help promote drug prevention and counter drug things to them through their schools and through their communities. But circling back to that is my bed was kind of already made in that role up in the front office at our Joint Force headquarters with that role by my buddy who's already there. But I actually went and interviewed for the analyst position because I had a little bit of media skills. I'm typically a social guy. It was a natural fit to go to DDRO. But to answer your question is no, you don't need to be an intel analyst. You don't need to be XYZ. We have some job openings now for those criminal investigative analysts. And basically, they're just looking for the right person that they think that can fit into that specific agency or bureau or law enforcement entity that would fit you well and fit them well. So you really don't need to have an intel background at all. They send you out for case management training, analyst training, criminal investigative training. They send you out to do those things. And then you just get partnered with those agencies or law enforcement entities. So it's kind of a really cool task force because you're right in being that our ADOS orders are very unique as far as like somebody else getting ADOS orders with HR at the state level or the G3 or whatever. Counter drug is one of the only programs because of the Joint Force Task Force where we cut our own orders. We do all of our own stuff internally. We have our own HR stuff. It's kind of like a little specialized task force. And we have a program director who is our colonel. He reports directly to the TAG and to the Joint Chiefs, and they report directly to NGB and Secretary of Defense. And that's straight up. So when Josh was talking about, we on the M-Day side or from the scouts and sniper side, if we are prepping to send some packs or guys down for the inauguration this year in January, which is a discussion being had, because I'm on counter drug orders and because of the precedence of this task force being mandated down from NGB and the Secretary of Defense, I can only be leased out for activation orders for 72 hours because of my counter drug ADOS orders. So it's a pretty cool, unique thing. And you can retire from it. It's one of the only ADOS jobs where I think it might be the only ADOS orders in programs where they let you retire.
What, meaning you can do 20 years or what?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. So with that said, to finish this off, that's where the cyclical kind of how do you get into a criminal investigative analyst job or how do you get into my DDRO job on this side as a civil operator and then transition over is those guys that have been analysts for like 10 or 15 years are now going full time with like DHS and HSI. So they rotate out because they're getting picked up by those 3-letter agencies to go full time with them. So that's what kind of keeps the door open, for new people coming in and out or people not continuing their orders or getting offloaded somewhere else. But
does it take that long? Or if you're really good at your job, can you be there for a year or two and parlay that into?
That's a great question. I think it would take a little bit longer than a year or two because then you can get some of those resume building things. You know what I'm talking about? Is like, now that I've only been there since June, so I don't know how many months that is. I'm not counting. Now that I've done some stuff and been involved with it and understood what it is, I can definitely pad up my resume and have it be very accurate and true. But until I would say the criminal analyst side, you'd want to be there for a good year or two because your cases are sometimes short, they're sometimes long. So it would take a little bit longer because it's a little bit longer reward or more like kind of long-term reward, especially when we work in some of those cases. And it takes you time to get adjusted in. But I would just say this to be safe, in less than 5 years, you can definitely have a padded up resume and those connections and that reputation with one of the agencies or whatever that you're working with to be able to slide over, or to be able to submit an application, have it actually be applicable kind of content that's on your resume that would make you a way better candidate.
These orders, are they Title 32 or like state active duty? Okay.
They are. Yep.
Okay. So you're not necessarily getting like the federal time credit for doing them if you do it for 2 years.
Oh, no. I mean, we're considered full-blown active duty. So all this counts towards retirement. It counts towards everything. It's TRICARE Prime. It's full BAH, BAS. It's all, we are full-blown, treat us like we're active duty.
So me as like,
National Guard. And it's not
me as a captain or you, I don't know what rank you are, but like, do they care or they're just like, I don't care. Like we need you as a body doing this like criminal, or is it like, no, you're this rank, so you're going to do this job?
No, it's not really rank based. A lot of our analysts are anywhere from a staff sergeant to a sergeant first class down to E4s who are promoting into sergeant. Same thing on our front side. We have a little bit more structure on the DDRO. We do have an OIC, and we also do have an NCOIC. I'm here on our DDRO side of our team of 5. So there is some structure in the front office, but as far as like criminal investigative analysts, they're looking for anybody that's like an E6 or an E5 or below. The officer positions are all like ops position or the XO and things like that. And it's all based on budget. So for example, like if you as an officer wanted to come in and do the DDRO spot, it's probably not going to happen because the budget and the structure is not set out for it. But should you want to come into our position that's a budget analyst position where you're helping the entire counter drug program with our budget, that's different. You know what I mean? That's more of like the front office admin, like kind of how Josh was talking about, like the sniper or the shooting sniper admin or whatever. That's what we'd have like an officer position for. But everybody else below who's doing that stuff is enlisted. And then, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter rank. It's more of like, I could say, hey, I want to go work for the post office. And it doesn't matter if I'm an E4 or not. It's just, are you a good fit? Do they like you? Do they think you'd fit well there? You know what I mean? So it doesn't really have to do with rank until you get to more of the admin side of the house.
How many at any given time? So, I mean, are the positions hard to get, or if you apply and you're not a total dumbass, will you pretty much get hired or get the orders?
I would say no. So that's a really good question, man. For people that don't know about it, it's not one of those things where like, if you're not a dumbass, they'll hire you. They are looking for specific people with it doesn't even have to be relevant traits. It's not like you have to come from an analyst side or come from a law enforcement background. We have people that are analysts that are MPs, like that's sort of law enforcement, but they're doing criminal investigative stuff. And, we have 2 SF dudes. We have a Bravo and a Delta who are attached to agencies and law enforcement. They don't have any fucking, criminal investigative background. I mean, they obviously can handle it and do it. But that's what they're looking for, is they're looking for the right person, because it is a little bit of a family, because we are unique in counter drug. So they're looking for the right person to come and fit the family. Because I have a couple of the guys from the scouts who have seen our job postings. I mean, I've kind of been making connections and vouching for them to get hired. And it's basically like, referral in person helps a lot in getting your foot in the door, but just knocking out your interview and being a good dude and having those teachable skills and wanting to learn. So it's not just kind of like, going and don't be a dumbass. Like you have to showcase yourself, but there's always like a rotation of analyst positions usually coming in yearly, depending on where those analysts go.
Like how many positions are there in Maryland for this? Like 100? Is it like 25? How many is it? Counter drug positions do they have at any given time? Is it capped at a certain amount?
Oh, yeah, it's capped at a certain amount because of our budget.
Do you have any idea?
And a lot of we have, I don't know. I've seen our alert roster and I've worked on some stuff for our front office. Since they like,
okay, 30. So that's not a huge number. So
no, there's like 30 analysts and stuff all spread out through different agencies and whatnot. Maybe.
Well, that's cool, man. I had always heard about counter drug and I knew people who had done it, but I never really had any idea what it was exactly. But it sounds like, pretty interesting, relevant, like work. Is it pretty much an 8-hour day, or like, are you there till like your release sort of thing?
No, it's big boy rules, big boy and big girl rules. We're supposed to work 4/10. So I work Tuesday through Friday. Mondays are off. Yeah, it's badass. And depends on where your analysts are, what site they're at. Some, like if there's somebody at Maryland State Police up in Cecil County, maybe their day off is Friday. or something, or maybe they don't have a day off because they work at NSA for the Ringgold or whatever, maybe, or work at HIDA, or whatever. It just depends. But up at the front office, we work 410s. And it's pretty badass. We wear our uniform every day and stuff like that, unless we're going to a meeting in our plain clothes or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty cush, to be honest.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad I got to learn a bit more about that particular program. And so it's only for National Guard. They don't take 30 reservists.
No, you have to be enlisted. So that's the other thing, is you have to be enlisted you have to be enlisted in order to go over. Or commit, or like, for example, or commission. Like if you're going for an officer position or something, you would have to be commissioned and full blown, like in the Guard.
Well, like me, as someone who's in the Army Reserve,
it's a great question.
I'm going to assume it's no, but you never.
Yeah, that's a good question. But also, stuff gets really wonky with our airmen too. Like the Air Force is coming over because of Joint Force. That shit gets weird. But I don't know. I don't have to deal with people's orders. That's all for our senior NCOs and our first sergeant and all them to deal with.
So let's pivot a bit here to what you guys are doing on the social media side of things. Now, there's a page that I'm aware of because you guys run it, or do you? I'm actually blanking on what it's called. Violence through silence, or silence through violence.
We do want some stuff, sure.
We have some contributors, maybe, that I think all contributed to agglomeration of knowledge and gear.
Yeah, it's kind of a few of us. Each person kind of has their own specialty involved with it, like their own purpose with it. Some are, some are just take really pretty pictures. Some have really cool kit to share. Some are great making connections. Some share a lot of knowledge drops. Everyone has their purpose.
So I saw the page and I immediately thought it was cool because, something the Army, I don't know if it's all of DOD or just the Army, but the Army is just fucking terrible at marketing and creating cool content that actually engages people and would make me want to go join the Army. I don't know, because there's so much there's just so much opportunity out there to make cool content and engage people, and they don't do it. They focus on all the wrong stuff. And then so these amateur pages like yours are oh wow, they're actually showing stuff snipers do, or that's awesome. And I don't know why big Army Pentagon types can't tap into that.
Well, it's all because it gets cock blocked by the PAOs and JAG, right? And then you have doctrinal you have doctrinal recruiting and the maneuver center of excellence and all that coming in and cock blocking it because they don't want to put out the wrong message. You know what I mean? That's where it kind of gets weird with our 175 official Instagram page is it's important to show the other support MOSs and the soft skills and people what they do, but they're missing a whole fucking thing of market and recruiting and attention to obviously hard skills, but they're just missing opportunities in general. And there's dudes that we follow, Og_photography, and he's a Ranger combat photographer, and he's over at 75th Ranger Regiment, and they let him
that page, whoever does the Ranger social media stuff, they make awesome stuff.
Yeah, and that's because they let that's that combat photographer's job. He goes to fucking Halo. They give these combat photographers, I met one who's at the Honor Guard in Virginia. That's his job. They have camera gear and stuff like that. But he was telling me that getting in with a soft unit or regiment is the place to be if you're a combat photographer, because you get to go and do all the training and you get to make cool videos, and they just want shit to look cool. But when you get on the doctrinal side and all these 82nd Airborne's official Instagram page, you're okay, this is trash. But if you dig deep into it and you go find the scout sniper section, the sniper section in the 82nd, then you start getting to cool stuff because they're kind of running it themselves.
I just don't.
So you're right about that, dude. I don't know. They're missing a huge opportunity to make it official, but it's all broken down into unit stuff. And that's kind of where we come into play and not having the official one. We're the unofficial, I would call it, but still rock it.
Yeah. And honestly, we started this page, I think more so as a recruiting tool for ourselves, because let's be honest, when we put out a selection date, hey man, 3 days in September, and it's a 6 month heads up, none of these company commanders want to put it out because they don't want to lose their good guys. So if we're at a qualification range or something, while we're out at that, I guess that base with everybody, say we're doing a battalion wide qualification. All right, well, we're going to see guys on the M4 range or the pistol range or wherever we might be. just look and be like, hey, man, I knew this guy. I've known him for a few years. He's decent. That's how we would recruit. Hey, you're welcome to come to try it. We'd like to have you there. Well, when numbers get a little thin in battalion and, battalion commander or company commanders don't want to put it out, well, now we got to start poaching our own and start advertising. So like we started like using this Instagram mostly as a tool. We're like, all right, let's talk about what we do. Let's get some of our senior guys on there talking about, some knowledge drops or some experiences, or start putting out some useful information. Hey, here's how you tie these knots. Here's how we train out for a ruck. Here's how we do this. Because honestly, we get a guy who's only been in 2 or 3 years. He comes to our assessment and selection and he just gets blindsided by stuff because he doesn't really know, he doesn't have the experience. And I would like, it can be a tool for useful information, but also look badass at the same time.
Has anyone else kind of within the broader NGB or Maryland National Guard PAO types taken notice and engaged with you in any way or not at all?
I don't think so, Josh. Nobody's, other than our official Instagram account for the 175, reposting some of our stuff and us just like,
yeah, that's
casually exchanging a deed, maybe. But no, what we do have attention of though, which is funny enough, is we started like all the strategy and stuff on here of how the pages run and breaking up the videos into segments and having longer ones and then pushing it all to YouTube. We thought of the kind of strategy of using Instagram as like a funnel, right? So we're going to have some short content on there, some really cool pictures, but we're going to push everybody to YouTube because we can try to monetize YouTube and we can try to turn that money around and see if we can if Josh and I can dump some of that in our bank accounts and do like contract ordered gear or start getting stuff. And so that was a huge thing. But I mean, we started doing this strategy straight off the bat, dude. We have a couple of videos that are up past 1 million views. Shorts, we have longer. So we cut it up into shorts. We put those on YouTube. But if you go and look at some of our views on YouTube, it's wild.
Yeah, and the conversations, I promise
you would know this too, dude. You're you guys have Friday Guard, and the contributors there or the moderators there, dude. The comment section, just like Grantham says, the comment section is Wild West, dude. It's wild. Josh's one video where he's talking about stalking or making a ghillie suit that we got. I think we're up to 1.2 million views on this short. There's 1,200 comments on one guy's comments where they're talking about farting and covering up their steps when they're walking.
How do people find your stuff?
Dude, so social media strategy.
Is that
tradecraft?
Titling your clips and finding it. No. So you would, okay, a lot of people think marketing and social media is black magic. Oh, the algorithm, shadow ban, just all different things. But I can clearly tell that I applied a specific strategy that I learned on my civilian side that I thought was non-traditional to what the civilian side was doing. And I said, I want to do it this way. And I applied it here. Next thing you know, we're getting traction and we hit that algorithm, hit that sweet spot where it becomes viral. And now back to Josh's thing is our main engagement of customers is or customers, I guess, of viewers is literally hunters, airsoft and LARPers, which is fine by all means, totally. People take airsoft and milsim wets and all that seriously. If they can come in and learn how to construct a ghillie suit, or if we can push them towards a company that we like through our channel and get a kickback, by all means. And then we have some obviously Army people who come in, but there's, like Josh said, it's a recruiting tool, but there's a little bit of strategy to our labeling videos, picking the thumbnails. There's a specific strategy that I have in order to kind of hit that algorithm. You know what I mean?
And honestly, for a while there, we were getting active duty guys specifically from the 82nd being hey man, I'm getting out.
Dude, I was about to say that should be, especially from the recruiting, you should try less to recruit from the Guard and more to recruit from dudes coming off active duty who maybe even combat arms or I want to do something cool in the Guard versus being a 42 Alpha,
Yeah, we have those DMs. We have those DMs with those guys. We also, it's been a time, with Josh going to William P. Winston or going to Maryland State Police Counter Sniper schools or going to Army Sniper School, making connections. This guy that we talked to is on a sniper team for law enforcement up in New Jersey, and they're talking about, Josh and they were talking about get together and stuff, or we're talking to other units and foreign units, dude, but also gear companies. So we do some gear reviews. Josh will find something or I'll find something. We'll kind of hunt it down. We have our kind of formal or informal, I guess. It's pretty formal because we're one of their kickback customers, Carcajou Tactical. And then also Forgotten Country Gear, they make bags, shooting bags. So like, we're trying to help people who have small businesses push some of their stuff because we like it. Josh likes it. It works.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm not going to push something that I don't honestly use. And like, you know what I mean? Like you get tired of seeing these Instagram groups being like, oh, hey, we're getting a kickback on us. Let's push it and just do that. But like, we're only pushing it because I actually use, like, I literally have the Carcajou Tactical Viper Hood with our Badger Shroud, their night vision boonie. Like I got all that stuff in my kit bag, gillied up, ready to go. I was just using it last weekend teaching a class and like, dude, like it's great stuff. My students love it. The people that I push it to love it. So like, we don't push anything. We don't use a shooting bag. Man, I used it at SWAT Sniper School and it was great. All the other agencies, they loved it. So like, it's honestly good stuff, but that page has helped us make so many relationships like that. And it's like, mostly just like, hey, they want feedback of a sniper. So they'll send out like a prototype and we'll just honestly run it for like a month or two and be like, oh yeah, we need to change this or that. And they'll change it and it's a great product, or they'll send us a product that's already great. I mean, hell, we're on a couple of people's websites now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the baller, dude. You find that niche, and then people in that niche come to you, and you become. No, I mean, it's brilliant, and it's awesome.
We were in a habitual pattern there. We were running hot. This company that we keep talking about up in Canada, Carcajou Tactical, they have a couple of JTTF guys that help run some of their gear design and some of their R&D. But because, and I mean, it's not stepping outside on a little bit of a humble brag, but because of my video production and editing and photography skills, it was directly aligning with what they were doing as a big company up there. So they were sending us stuff and they were like, hey, we love your gear review videos. Would you guys mind doing a review on this? And can you take pictures and video of this prototype? And we would send them all the raw files. Like Josh is all over their website.
Were they paying you though?
Yeah. So, well, that was initially the trade, is we were getting some gear, getting to test it out, getting music, getting to keep it. They would just send us boxes of stuff. And now we are part of their affiliate program. So we have a code. So now we're actually seeing a little bit of kickback. Now you do have to down convert from Canadian dollars and loonies and toonies, but it's money that we didn't have. It's gear that we couldn't give to the boys. Do you know what I mean? So,
and here's the thing, like, I like the picture, like it's still kind of small right now. It's something at least, but look, man, it's money we can use for lunch for the boys, for pizza and beer. It's money we can use for gear for the guys. It's relationships we can use to get gear for the guys. I mean, like ghillie suits for one, like Army Sniper School has announced this year that they're not supplying ghillie suits for students anymore. You have to bring your own. Well, now we have a connection to supply ghillie suits to the section that are actually quality.
I thought you were supposed to make your own ghillie suit in Sniper School.
So that's how it used to be. They just don't have the time anymore. When I went to Sniper School,
what else are they doing?
Like 2 years ago. Well, now it's only 5
everything's just getting worse and shittier across the board. I swear to God.
Well, I know, dude.
100%. And dude, like I went to SWAT Sniper School, right? I'm the only non-police officer there, and I had already been through Army Sniper School, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna make your own ghillie suit. You're gonna stitch up and sew your own thing. We don't want to see machine sewing. We want to see you hand sew it, and you're gonna be scored on points at the end, and it's gonna be like a no-go thing and points to rank you. And dude, for a 5-week course, I think for 3 weeks of it, I was hand stitching. I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, yeah, this would be a lot for Sniper School, but like for like Army Sniper School, but like you can 1% do it. Like it's a tradition thing, just like making your own shooting bag. Like you should be making your own shooting bag in Sniper School.
But I guess that would never happen in real life. You know what I mean? They'd just like, here's your ghillie suit, here's your shooting bag. We're like, go buy your own. Or if you wanted to make it, I guess you could. But I guess that would be kind of a waste of time for a school that's.
Yeah, I mean, Army Sniper School nowadays, like you can still learn some more advanced stuff there, but it's meant to get you started, get you qualified, and it is a lot. But you know, you always they do expect you to keep searching for more knowledge, which you should be doing. There's actually a cool program that you can do, at least on the National Guard side. I don't know if this exists for the active duty side, but on the National Guard side, there's a National Guard Sniper Association that's ran by one of the instructors at the National Guard Sniper Schoolhouse. It's like $10 a month, but you can pull out up to like $200 a year in money for classes or competitions. So as long as it's sniper related or long distance shooting related, you can pull it out. So like, that's awesome. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, stuff's changing in the Army and it's not really for the better, but
that's kind of like, I want to comment on that too. Cause as he mentioned, dude, like with the budgets being cut, the school's budgets being cut, us availability of like going anywhere and deploying anywhere. That's where like kind of, it's pretty cool that our page, but my time here, I haven't done, but I've learned so much. So it doesn't account on my like ERB that I've been here, done that, or gone to see. I haven't done any of that, but with dudes like Josh and some of our guys that came from LURS and all that, like, and Josh running, I went out to his private or his civilian course for long range marksmanship out in West Virginia. Like, I learned so much and learned how to shoot on my own long range platforms. I'm learning so much from these dudes just being around them. So it's actually like, would I like to go to sniper school sometime in the next fiscal year? Yeah. So maybe that opportunity presents itself. Should I get over to Josh's? But it's just like being around these dudes and like, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like if the opportunity is there for knowledge transfer, that's where we were really trying to leverage the BTS page. Because, you know, these guys are, as I came into it as a new guy, I was like, these guys have done all these schools and but they're humble about it. And they should be, but there's so much knowledge that can be transferred on, not only to me, but other LARPers out there, or like non-athletic real people, or other units or other people. It's been fun.
Yeah. And honestly, like the page, you know, man, we talk to other sniper sections too, man. Some of these other sniper sections just don't have like a foundation anymore because guys have left or whatnot. It does help other sections like remain, I guess, like qualified, lethal in a way. But, you know, like sections talk, it's a small world, right? Snipers are a small world. Scouts are a small world. It does help the network. It's like, hey, what are you doing over there? All right, well, we're doing this.
I want to kind of wrap us up with two questions. One, so I'm in a civil affairs unit, but it's some of what you do is relevant to what we do. And I wonder, in theory, could I like set up some joint training if we had like the same drill weekend where we could cross train, or you could train us up on some of your platform, or just give us some sort of 101 level like training on what you guys do, or at least the capabilities you have, and let us shoot your weapons. Like, is that within the realm of possibility?
Yeah, we've been up to like, we've had our battalion qualifying on M4 ranges before where the civil affairs unit from our area was there at like on base at the same time doing the same thing on a different range. And it'd be too easy just to like, hey man, come over here to this range, you know, whenever you're free for a couple hours and we can do this, that, or whatever. But also like we do have the opportunity to split train as well. I mean, we've had guys split train with our civil affairs unit before to be like, okay, I want to see if I want to transfer over basically and look for a different opportunity. I mean, I'm going to Mountain Warfare School with some guys from our civil affairs, and I think we now have one of our former PLs who's a cap now in that civil affairs unit. And like, it's like we do talk and we can split train as well. So like, if I know we can from the guard to the reserve, but I don't know if the reserve can to the guard. I don't know how that works.
The other thing I'm trying to like that's interesting about that question is I mentioned the two SF dudes from 20th that are in the counter drug. So when we were at our in-service or yearly annual meeting, I was talking to them and stuff and like trying to figure that out because they're right down the road. We go train at their site location where they're kind of like,
I forget what it's called.
Headquarters is that here. And it's Glen Arm. It's in Glen Arm, Maryland, but they're right there. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, you guys have access to like a long range over at APG. Like, you guys have access to this. Like, could we cross train? Could we do this? Could we do that? And they have no problem with it. But what I'm kind of getting at for you as an officer position, it's getting those people who are in charge of the drill schedules or the training units and all that for both respective sides to talk to each other and to coordinate. So because the Delta was like, okay, so we have unconventional warfare training that we need to do. We have our tasks that we need to do in order to hit that training cycle. So would your command be up for this? For example, if we were doing some UW training, could we have you guys come out and be the Gs or the guerrillas, and we're teaching you unconventional stuff on how to conduct ambushes, raids, or whatever, or surveillance, and check the box for our unconventional warfare training, but conducting the ambush, conducting the raids, conducting the patrol surveillance checks the box for your tasks that your command has set out. So really, like, we're talking here on like an NCO level or like a lower enlisted with you, but it's really getting those officers that we're in touch with, is like, yeah, we'll see the 20th guys. They'll come out to like Charlie Company when I was there. They'll come out like hip pocket classes, some like current Met TC or some triple C classes of the Bravo. We'll talk about gear, but like there's no reason why we should not be over at Bloom training with the SF guys as a scout cyber section, like at least a couple times a year or once a quarter. It's just getting those people.
Well, you got to make sure it's a win-win for both sides.
I mean, look,
basically what you said.
Correct.
And like a good example is like we never used to get SEER school slots, right? I had a buddy who was off the active duty side who had a broadening assignment as an E6 and went and taught at the SEER schoolhouse for CRC. And he was like, hey, man, we keep getting like street seat pilots and just people who are like currently enlisting or some prior service people, but not like infantry who are going through CRC for like flight school and stuff like that. We get like SF, like people like if their schoolhouse is full, they go to this one. We get like Ranger Regiment dudes, stuff like that. He's like, but no one's really like infantry. Would you mind like sending some of your recon guys down and your sniper guys and like, you know, embedding in a class? We're like, yeah, man, cool. It was a handshake between like, and literally like a memo that was written from his commander to our commander at the time. And both sides were cool with it. Hey, literally like a month later, we were sending guys to SEER school, you know, like it's just that it's networking, it's relationships. But like you said, it's also like both sides having a benefit. Our side got SEER qualified guys for a job where you should be SEER qualified. And their side got prior experienced guys or current experienced guys who help teams not get lost or get caught early, you know, like it's.
Well, I'm going to have to hit you guys
a win-win.
That at some point. My final question is, why does the Guard always crush the sniper competitions against the other components?
So the guys who won the international one last year were two of my schoolhouse instructors, and I'm going to see them here again in December at the yearly competition. They're great dudes. I will say that the Guard guys, they just seem more committed. I don't know if it's just because active duty's pulling guys in and out of that spot every year or two. I don't know what it is, but on the Guard guys, like those guys are there for 5, 6, 7, 8 years doing that job in some sort of capacity or teaching at a schoolhouse or doing whatever. They train hard. They enjoy it. It's their life. It's not just a job. You know, this is what they do. It is different. It is a different capacity.
Well, I think from like a new guy side, like look at what Josh does. Like he goes and he teaches civilian courses, or these Guard guys are going and doing, or Josh, you know, like all those competitions out west, like, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like the long range civilian shooting courses, like they're going and doing that. But when you look at like a normal scout unit, like when we talk to somebody from like the Doughboys or the 82nd, like scout units, like they're constricted by active duty. So like you may have a Guard sniper who works a job like Josh or myself, but then on his weekends, he goes out and shoots private or civilian courses. That's all they do. So like their hobby and they're fine tuning their skills, but on the active duty side, they're not always out shooting. They're doing bullshit, or maybe they have an ACFT that weekend, or maybe they don't. You know what I mean? There's so much more constrictive like stuff with the active duty units. And like Josh says, like he can go and teach courses and stay fresh, or go do competitions on his off time when he's not at drill. So that's like where they fucking crush it, because you guys just stay dialed in. And then I think Josh too is like, you get invited to these special courses like Maryland State Police Counter Sniper course, and you get to check out our weapons and get an official memo where you're using the weapon that you use in your M-Day to go do, you know what I mean? So like it all translates to.
Yeah, I mean,
me as a new guy, that's just, I have no chip in that. I'm just from an outside perspective, seeing how Josh operates. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they put me on orders to go to that for 4 weeks, and I took a Mark 22 with 3 barrels and an M4 and an M17, and yeah, it was awesome. Had a GSA, but like you said, like some of these states, man, they will pay for their guys to go to these schools. They'll go like out Midwest and go shoot for a week or two at a civilian course that's ran by like Applied Ballistics or something like that, where like, you know, special operations guys are going only, but these Guard guys are getting assigned all by their states. And we used to do the same thing. We send guys to civilian competitions. Here we have a military and police like special, like aren't like basically military sniper or police sniper competition called Blue Green, and it's like 5 days long in Eastern West Virginia, and we used to get orders to go to that. And yeah, I mean, there's good opportunities in a Guard to do that stuff as long as you have the support from company commanders, from battalion, from these other shops to make stuff happen. Like, I mean, you can swap AT orders for anything, and you can, like, if you know you're not going to AT that year, hey man, find a school to go to for 2 weeks on a civilian side. There's plenty of shooting schools. Go train with Army Marksmanship Unit. You know, we have those opportunities too.
By the way, did you know that you were talking to 2 CAG operators and we just go around and do civilian courses and do cool? I forgot to tell you that. We're actually part of CAG.
I was not aware, but I am now. I will say, Josh sounds like what I would have imagined a National Guard sniper would sound like. You just, in my head, you like match, his voice matches the, well, like what a National Guard sniper would sound like, which is awesome. Anyway, I could ask you guys like another 50 questions.
Well, he sounds like he's from the...
Exactly. It sounds like he's, cool. Yeah. But I'll have to have you guys, you know, back on at some point. I'm supposed to have a guy on who's on the Army Reserve Marksmanship team, which is like his full-time unit. So I'll have to have him on and see what he says. But thanks for your time, guys. It's been awesome. Definitely going to have people check out the Violence Through Silence Instagram page, YouTube channel. It's pretty cool stuff. We'll make sure we link it here when we get this uploaded. And yeah, keep being snipey boys and repping the guard. And to the listeners, stay part-timing. And if you're interested in being a sniper, check out Violence Through Silence. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thanks for having us on, and we appreciate what you do too.